Ah! Okay, I think this might be the video setting.
Okay.
I don't think the microphone's on though. Hello, and welcome to something that we're calling the Cold Read, with and starring Keith and Oberon, and Kaylee's down there, and me. And what we're gonna try and do is a cold read of a story from The Year After Tomorrow, which I can't read backwards. And these are all short stories, science fiction stories from, this book was published in 1950 something, forward by Lester Del Rey. But let's see, what year? 1954. So these are like cheesy sci-fi stories, but this is something that I'm just going to cold read. So please pardon me if I stutter over some of the words, but it's not a long story, and I thought maybe everybody would sort of enjoy, hearing story time. So here we go. What are you laughing about? Kaylee, stop licking yourself. Stop it. Okay. Fucking rebel. Oh, and yes, and this one's called The Red Death of Mars. Read it backwards. Hold it up to a mirror. I don't know. Does that work?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'm also, there's a Scottish guy in here, and I know I'm Scottish, but I'm not going to try doing the Scottish accent because maybe I will. I don't know. I'll surprise you. The Red Death of Mars by Robert Moore Williams. Sparks Avery, on vigil beside his radio equipment, saw the three men coming. He didn't need to look twice to know that something was wrong. Rising, he opened the controls that manipulated the outer door of the lock. From the stern of the ship came a rattle of pots and pans as Shorty Adams, the dour cook, prepared the evening meal. Angus McIlrath, far-wandering son of Scotland, came forward from the engine room. Momentarily, as he opened the door, the muted hiss of the uranium fission engines sounded. "What is it, lad?" McIlrath asked. Sparks, stop laughing. Sparks pointed to the three men. They were nearer now. Coming across the sandy square, the dust splashed around their feet and hung in an eddying cloud behind them. Dust that had never known rain. McIlrath squinted through the double glass of the port, shielding his old eyes against the sun glare of Mars. "I don't like their faces, lad." Sparks did not answer. Heavy boots clumped in the lock. The outer door clanged. Air hissed softly. The inner door opened. Martin Frome, tall and thin, came first. His blue-gray eyes rested for an instant on the radio man. He said nothing. Beside him came Jim Sutter, swinging his long arms like a waddling ape, as one does. Last came Vincent Orsatti, blinking weak eyes behind thick-lensed spectacles. "Is everything all right in the ship?" Frome asked. "Right, sir," Sparks answered. "You kept close watch from the ports as I directed?" "Yes." "You observed nothing unusual? No movement of any kind?" "Nothing." Frome turned to McIlrath. "Are the engines ready?" "The engines," said McIlrath evenly, "are always ready." Because, Scottish guys, engineering, I guess it was a thing in 1954, too. "We'll keep 'em that way," said Frome flatly. McIlrath touched his cap with two fingers. "Aye, Captain." Frome turned to the two men who had entered with him. "Sutter, prepare a short archaeological report on the city itself for immediate transmission by radio to our main base." The archaeologist, already pulling off his heavy garments, clumped across the room to a table. "Orsatti," Frome said, "you will oblige me greatly if you will tackle a report on this." He opened the knapsack that he carried, took an object from it which he laid on the table. "Gladly, Captain," Orsatti answered. "Oh, on that?" There was startled inquiry in Orsatti's voice. Sparks leaned forward to look at the object Frome had laid on the table. A gleam of brilliant ruby lanced out from it. "What is it?" he asked. "We don't know," Frome answered. "They're scattered everywhere, all over the city. In one place we found them piled 3 feet high against a door like a load of coal dumped from a truck. They looked like jewels, but they aren't. It did look like a jewel, like a ruby as big as a man's fist. It was round, and its surface was a mass of facets from which reddish beams of reflected light winked. But, Captain, Orzati persisted, my specialty is biochemistry. I'm also a metallurgist of sorts, but this doesn't fall within either of my fields. Describe it as best you can, Frome said gruffly, while I prepare a report on the fate of our first expedition to the city of Torms. You found them? Sparks interrupted quickly. Well, we located their ship from the air before we landed. Yeah, I know that, but the men... Frome's lips knifed into a straight line. We found the men, too. Oh, Sparks answered. For a second, he stared at the captain, his face working. Then he turned on his heel and walked over and eased his lithe body into the chair in front of the radio transmitter. McIlrath looked at him sadly but said nothing. Orzati's report was finished first. He handed the single sheet to the radio man. Sparks read, and I'm going to pause here for a moment because I think we have someone at the door. Hold, please.